Hey there. Appreciate you coming. This is Darren. Welcome to my channel again. So, some interesting developments. This past week, I had my first couple completely random subscribers. So, if you're watching this, thanks for coming to the channel. Really appreciate it. Hope you bring some friends. So, anyway, the last couple videos that I've been doing were about the Fed, essentially where they came from, their history, and their involvement in today's inflation crisis that we're going on right now. So today's video is going to be hopefully a bit more back and forth with some of you guys about your thoughts on the Fed. So I've heard a lot of things almost entirely negative on people's reaction to the current existence of the Fed. So I'm personally on the fence about it. I mean, I can see some utility that it has, but at the same time, I can see some definitely bad things that it's doing too. Just as a quick recap to the two videos, basically this is the third version of a national bank. It was considered the National or the Federal Reserve, dubbed the Fed for short. But this is currently the third iteration. This particular go-around came about in 1913. It was basically an answer to bank runs. So that's why it was originally formed. There was concern that there would not be enough funds in physical banks to be able to pay out in case if, a whole bunch of people came in, took a bunch of cash out all at once. So it's not really that much of an issue anymore, and the Fed's responsibility and power has definitely grown a lot since then. Right now, they're basically buying up assets to flood money into the economy, and that raises interest rates. So, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. So they're buying money, or they're buying investments. Shoot. Oh my gosh, I'm getting confused now. Anyway, did a whole video on this, so go back and watch one of those videos and clear the whole thing up. But anyway, yeah, so essentially what they're doing is they're raising interest rates and making it more difficult to get jobs. They're making it more difficult to buy homes and other assets. It's harder for businesses to develop, and basically, well, they're kind of forcing us to have less money to be able to create as much demand. So the inflation is created by two things, both supply and demand. If supply is low and demand is high, inflation goes way up. Everything gets way more expensive. So the Fed can't touch anything except for demand. They can affect demand by taking your ability to buy stuff away from you. So that's what they're doing. So anyway, about a week or two ago, there was a Senate hearing with Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, and as in front of the Senate, Senator Elizabeth Warren was asking him some questions, and Breaking Point News covered some of that. So I'm just going to play the first part of one of their clips. If you're interested in seeing the full video, I'll put a link in the description below. You can watch that. So there you go. Switch over to that. And boom.
Some interesting comments from Elizabeth Warren recently, sort of grilling Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. And as you guys know, some of the backdrop here is, of course, that because Washington is unwilling to act with regard to inflation, food prices, gas prices in particular, they've punted this thing to the Fed.
Okay, real quick side note. So essentially, when asked what the plan is to dealing with inflation, Biden's response was essentially just have the Fed deal with it, and the Fed will sort it out.
As we've gone over a lot, the Fed is very limited in what they can do. Basically, what they can do is trigger a recession. I mean, that's effectively, they're openly admitting we got to get unemployment up, we got to get wages down. So the one thing that Washington has landed on to do to deal with what is, mostly a supply chain driven inflation crisis is to hurt you and your pocketbook. So Elizabeth Warren, I think, here does a very effective job of drawing out that reality and what the Fed actions can do and what they cannot do. Let's take a listen to that.
Chair Powell, will gas prices go down as a result of your interest rate increase?
I would not think so, no.
Okay. That matters because gas prices are one of the single biggest drivers of inflation. Energy prices overall drove a third of the inflation last month, but the Fed's tools, as you say, have no impact here. So let's look at another necessity, food. Price of groceries is up nearly 12% this year. Americans feel the pinch. No matter how much groceries cost, people still got to eat. Chair Powell, will the Fed's interest rate increases bring food prices down for families?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay. So a Fed increase won't bring down these prices.
So she goes on to press him on what will it do? And of course, the answer is spike unemployment, so cause you to lose your job, cause your wages to go down, and potentially trigger a recession. So you can't get gas prices under control. You can't get food prices under control. This is what you can do. And so, Sagar, I was looking at some polling that was.
All right. So for the rest of the video, there we go. So for the rest of the video, they're pretty much just going into kind of what the public's opinion of this is. So I'd rather get your opinion, though. If you're not watching this in real time and you're watching this at a later date, if you could leave a comment on what your thoughts are on the Fed and how, more importantly, how they should be handled. Like, what should we do regarding the Fed? I'd love to hear what you have to say. So that would be really good, not just for me, because I'm still kind of on the fence. I'm leaning more one way than the other, but I do like input from all sides. But yeah, just tell me, how do you think we should handle the Fed going forward? I want to know. So anyway, to just do a quick breakdown, according to some of the parameters, or according to some of the metrics, we are actually in a recession right now, but it's not exactly like full-blown recession just yet. But that's essentially what the what the Fed is doing. That's about all that they can do. As far as the effect on gas prices and whatnot, that's actually triggered by a couple different things. Number one is a lot of gas companies have been shown to be pulling in record profits. And I remember a couple quarters ago, in some investor meetings, they were talking about how they were going to take advantage of the inflation spike to try to recoup a bunch of the losses that they had during lockdown, during quarantine, when nobody was driving. So a lot of the inflation from gas prices came from the companies themselves. So they kind of, there's a word for this, but I'm going to avoid it. Basically, they worked together, maybe in an unofficial capacity, and all equally raised prices at the same time, which could be illegal, maybe. But anyway, so that's the reason why gas prices are the way they are, especially initially. Now gas prices are impacted by basically the global supply. It's not just a regional thing. So the global price of gas is what dictates essentially the prices of overall. With the crackdown on buying gasoline from Russia, that's definitely impacted the global price of gas. So that's why the Fed can't really do anything about the price of gas or anything like that. And then as far as cost of food, I mean, I don't know. He said no, but it seems like that would be impacted by interest rates, because I mean, you need to take out a loan to be able to buy land, to grow crops, buy cattle, whatever you need for the year. And then you pay off that loan at the end of the year with whatever your proceeds were from, your crop yield. So, or, your livestock harvest, whatever it is. So anyway, I was kind of surprised that he said no to being able to impact food prices and whatnot. So that was interesting. But the real question is, how do we handle the Fed? So so anybody in the chat, let me know. Right now, I'm leaning more towards, personally, I'm leaning more towards that they've become more of a detriment than a boon. I could see the usefulness that they could have, what they're supposed to have, namely supposed to prevent a lot of basically banks going under suddenly and screwing over their customers because they don't have the funds on hand to be able to handle a sudden surge. However, that's not that much of an issue anymore, especially with so much digital online banking. Now, granted, if like the power grid goes down and whatnot, then yeah, we might have to revert back to cash. But at the same time, if the entire power grid goes down, where we're getting our cash is not going to be that big of a concern compared to everything else we'll be concerned about at that time. So I think it's kind of a moot point, but and I mean, we'll obviously fight to get the power grids back on. And even then, like, I think there'd be a lot more trade in gold or resources, probably revert back to a barter type system until the power grid gets set up again, in which case there'll probably be a large supply of cash on hand for a time, and then people will go back to digital trading. So, or digital, currency, debit cards, whatnot. So anyway, so my thoughts are, I think they have overstayed their keep, and with the amount of buying that they've been doing and pooling up all these resources and having no overhead or accountability. That was the thing. So the Fed is supposed to, this iteration of a national bank, the Federal Reserve, is the one main difference is that they're supposed to have some kind of oversight by the actual government. The Fed is not a governmental entity, and that's kind of deceptive because, you know, they're called the Fed, so you'd think, oh, federal, like, oh yeah, they're definitely part of our government. They are not. They are a private, individually run entity that don't actually answer to anyone. They're supposed to answer to Congress. Their chair is elected by the president. And beyond that, I don't know if they have any oversight. I remember hearing that a while back the IRS tried to audit them, and the Fed was like, no, you're not going to do that. And they didn't. So I guess that was that. But anyway, yeah, I'd just like to hear your thoughts. What do you think? So anyway, for the time being, I was digging into some other information. I came across another video that involves how we came out of the current recession that we're in and in the 1970s. So we're in a very similar situation now as we were in the 70s. And we came out of that in the 80s. And a big part of that was Carter in 1979 appointed a new chairman of the Fed, and they aggressively went after interest rates, and interest rates spiked to 20%. So there's a whole other video about that kind of stuff by Clear Value Tax. I think I'd like to do that maybe Monday. I need to do a short video on Monday. So I know it's kind of about the Fed again. I was wanting to move away from the Fed a little bit, but it kind of pertains still. So also I'm curious still, and I do really want to seek the answer to how do we handle the Fed. So anyway, so next video, I was want to get into all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, so want to do some stuff about that. Apparently there's some issues with chat. I don't know why this is happening. This is not the first time, but apparently some people have tried typing stuff in and it doesn't come in. Also, I was rewatching some of my other videos and people had typed stuff into the chat and it didn't pop up even though it's supposed to. So something's going on with YouTube. Maybe it's just me. I don't know what it is. But I've seen it with other YouTubers. Well, they'll have a chat and you can actually see what's being said in the chat. For some reason you can't do that, and I don't know why. So anyway, yeah, so next video is definitely wanting to get into this, and it has to do with the national deficit, as well as the Fed and how they were able to come out of their deep recession in the late 70s, early 80s, and how that's not really applicable this particular go around. It's interesting video. I'd like to dig into that. Since apparently the chat is goofing up a little bit right now, I think I'll just cut it off here. Please leave a comment. I really want to know what you have to say about the Fed and how to handle them moving forward. In fact, a good friend of mine, I was telling him about the premise of this particular video, and we were talking about the thumbnail, and he was like, and I told him like, yeah, just do like the flag of the Fed or whatever, and just that's fine, go nuts or whatever. And then he was like, oh yeah, so we should do basically flag of the Fed, and then should we invade? Question mark. It's like, that's funny, kind of accurate, but no. So anyway, what do you think? The Fed, should it be disbanded? How would that look like? Would we just axe it and then hope for the best and hope there's no fallout? Or should we keep it around? Should we restructure it? Tell me what your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like. It makes me feel really good, hits me in the warm fuzzies. Also, the YouTube algorithm really likes it as well. So maybe I'll get recommended to other people and I can be discovered more. So that would be cool. So anyway, appreciate you all. Thanks so much for hanging out and chatting. And then, yeah, till next time, stay classy.